Um, you still looking for that PNG?
No, I already got him. I was looking at your nudes, dude.
Nice. Um, I get I've been arguing with somebody on Facebook again.
Is it
You
Shmi?
no. It's somebody. I'm not gonna say his name, but I sent you a link. Actually, I thought you might enjoy our thread, like our conversation.
Oh, that's what that was?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, his most recent comment. Um. It's pretty loaded, so I was gonna take my time before I replied, but essentially he started off by posting a picture of like burning a mask. Essentially, masks are useless. Lockdowns are useless. COVID's not a big deal. It's only killing 1% of people. Who cares? That's kind of the idea, the rhetoric I'm getting out of it, the sentiment, and just a total lack of empathy. Any reason to like pretend like it doesn't matter or doesn't exist?
Well, I hope their whole family gets COVID and dies so they can learn that it does matter. Fuck
Uh,
them.
I don't. I don't condone that. Uh, I don't want them to get COVID, and I don't want them to die. I just want them to be safe and not spread their bullshit. Um,
I can't see your comments. I have no idea where they're at.
that's weird. I mean, if you just there's several threads, but essentially, he brought up I said that like lockdowns do work because and which I mean
Every
like
other
that
country went lockdown and it worked for them.
that was my argument that like I don't think I've quite made that argument. I made that argument to one person that like there are like a lot of in most of the countries that are back to normal, they did strict lockdowns and now they're back to normal.
Yep.
And then he points out that like he picked Florida and California. And this is like a good point and it's really interesting and I'll give him that. Florida has very few COVID restrictions, and um, but like, but like, but like people are still getting COVID and stuff. But per capita, per 100,000, California has roughly the same amount of cases and roughly the same amount of deaths, even though they have much stricter um, regulations and guidelines. So that's like really interesting that he brings that up. But then I did some digging and I looked like first of all, he's cherry picking. He's picking a state where lockdowns haven't been incredibly effective, at least on the surface. Like when you compare it to like Florida, yeah, it makes it look like lockdowns weren't effective. And then he's picking a state where like it's doing relatively good when you compare it to California, and he picked a state that isn't doing lockdowns. But you
He
could
also
just
picked a state that's like 5 times bigger than its state.
and yeah, the population and the population density in the cities, like there's a million factors you can get
Oh yeah.
into. Um, and it's an interesting question to pose. Like per 100,000, they're both very similar. But you can also pick a state that has no lockdowns or has very laxed rules, and they're like dying like crazy. And you could also pick a state with very strict lockdown and very strict rules, and they have very few deaths. It's kind of random throughout the country. You can cherry pick whatever you want, but there is a correlation between like the countries that are back to normal and the fact that they did lockdowns, except for like maybe like Japan. They're like an outlier.
Yeah. Well,
They're fair,
they're on a fucking island and they're always isolated.
but they do get a lot of travel. I don't know if they cut off travel.
I
I
think
don't know.
they did. I think they cut all. I don't think you're allowed to enter or leave that country for this last like 6 months to a year.
Interesting. I'm not 100.
Here,
You can look it up, but I
yeah.
know that that could be a cultural thing because they're already very very hygienic, and they wear masks when they think they're sick or when
They
there's
do.
Yeah, they're like, so you can take that into consideration, people's culture, like, and you can look at America, maybe like, because like we're pretty arrogant and selfish. There's a lot of arrogant and selfish Americans. So yeah, like if you're being a selfish, arrogant prick in a place where people are locked down, and there's like maybe like there's Californians who don't take it seriously, and that's why maybe their numbers aren't as good as they could be.
Well,
Or if you didn't do lockdowns in
Japan's going through
California,
another COVID hit right now.
what's that?
Japan's going through another COVID hit right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, most tourist attractions in Japan were closed during May and April of 2020. Many events and festivals continue to be canceled. Most tourist attractions reopened in the meantime, but the new state of emergency is leading to a renewed closure of Osaka and Tokyo regions. Below is a list of major tourist attractions in their current state of business and some of the more popular popular destinations in our sighting guide. Oh yeah, only 2 are reopened in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these places are reopened, but like any place with COVID, it's on lockdown.
Except for places that like
they had a lenient lockdown according to this article.
Except for places that nipped it in the butt.
Yeah.
The bud. Who are living life pretty normally.
But yeah, no, you're right though. Japanese, like if you were sick, you see them wearing masks even here in the States. Like you see them always wearing masks if they feel like they're sick.
Yeah, I feel like I could challenge this person on the stuff they said, and they bring up a good point. It's an interesting point. I don't think he's trying to use this as evidence as like lockdowns don't work and they're useless. But like you can, like I said, you can pick other states, and you can show that like lockdowns do work in some states, and not doing lockdowns or having fewer rules kills.
You have to factor in air quality. You have to factor in a lot of things. So like California's air quality is fucking garbage.
That's an interesting. I just look at like their cities, their most populated cities dwarf Florida's.
Yeah.
And you have to take into consideration like they got hit pretty hard in spring. And Florida did not get hit as hard. And then before winter they got
Washington and California got hit so hard at first because we're the import sites. Seattle's a major import.
And New York, yeah.
Yep, that's why it got hit, and that's why Florida didn't get touched because that's a tourist.
Yeah, so like, yeah, you can look at like the early spikes, which didn't happen in Florida as much. You can also take into effect that they implemented a strict lockdown in December after Thanksgiving, so after people were hanging out. So and they had like a huge spike after that. So like if they would have locked down sooner and prevented people from doing like Thanksgiving get-togethers, they probably wouldn't have such a severe spike.
Yep.
And everyone spiked because everybody was going to fucking Thanksgiving.
I
wore my mask and like social distance, but I saw like I tried to show up at people's houses before their guests showed up. That was my plan. But yeah, I mean, you can like look at those factors just between those states, but again, you can take that into consideration, but that's still cherry picking.
It is.
You could you could pick other states and show like the total opposite data.
Or we could just like all agree. What did the scientists tell us to do? Stay inside and wash our hands and not cough on people. So fucking stay inside.
Which a lot of people didn't do. They don't want to. It just
shows the failure in our education system even more. It really does.
Yeah, and then you have to take into consideration again, like our country and our culture and how headstrong and selfish and arrogant we are.
3/4 of America believe in angels.
What's that?
3/4 of America believe in angels.
Yeah, that's fucking ridiculous. And
3/4 of America believe they come down from the sky and will protect you.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. He was also trying to point out like how like there was this one county, I think here in Oregon, where like their death to case ratio was really small. But like he's again like I wish I had picked like said this earlier about the cherry picking, because he keeps picking very specific areas, but like
stop. Yeah, why are you cherry picking? Why are you cherry picking the best possible data points? Here's the worst possible data points for your counter argument.
Because like I mean he like because like oh the left is always trying to push a narrative. By cherry picking, he's literally trying to push a narrative.
He is pushing a narrative. That's what they want. That's what the Republicans want.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can cherry pick like whole countries and continents, but if you look at America, there's I forgot how many deaths or cases.
Over 500,000 deaths.
There's 500. I checked earlier. There's 570,000 deaths.
Yep.
And I did the math, and COVID statistically here in America, you have a 1.7% chance of dying. That's the statistic if you just do the math. And so like that's the whole country, and like it's gonna vary in some places. But it
matters on air quality, the person who gets it, their immune system. It matters if they have preconditions. It matters how well their lungs can handle it. It matters if they have a heart issue. It fucking matters. So that 1%, that just 1% get it. Well, what about the 1% that does get it, or the people who also have major issues who will catch it easier? That 1% goes way the fuck up.
Yeah, it's quick. Not 1% for me.
No.
Now I have asthma. It's not 1% for me. I just, if I were to die, I would just fall in that 1% of the overall cases. It's funny you bring that up about people and having pre-existing conditions. He doesn't count those people. So like
he's
he
an
only
idiot.
counts.
That's what that is. That's being stupid. That's being ignorant, blatantly ignoring the facts to fit their own narrative, to push their stupidity.
I said, hey, like you're just like, that's ridiculous, and it just shows your lack of empathy. Like
it doesn't even show the lack of empathy. It shows the full blown retardation that they're pushing. It's like stupid. I mean, I think I've heard this example is like, oh, if you get in a car accident and bleed out, it's like, oh, he didn't die from the car accident, he died from bleeding out. Like that's the argument he's making. That's the argument. That's like directly analogous. And it's like, so what after he puts it, like if you count only like the people who only die specifically of COVID, which is really weird to just single out those people and not like the people with pre-existing conditions, because they had COVID, but they died of a cough.
But he said, okay, so it's like, if you do it like that, it's like 0.00% or 0.01%. I'm like, okay.
Where did you get that number?
There's more suicides from lockdowns and all this stuff. There's more. He claims there's more suicide deaths than actual COVID deaths. And I'm like, that's disgusting. First of all, you're insulting everybody who's died of COVID. You're insulting everybody who's killed themselves. And you're insulting all the people their friends and family who are mourning their deaths. It's disgusting.
It's funny you bring that up. So like someone, I'm not going to say names. Someone that I knew from school recently killed themselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
In their parents' backyard.
Okay.
Like, literally. So that was a couple months ago. And recently we had a family member up here. It was in the news, and they put it as attempted murder suicide. He killed himself after trying to shoot his ex-girlfriend.
Oh, jeez. Dang.
So like, and then on top of that, like, we have a family member who attempted suicide as well.
It's it's because It's because of the lockdowns, Mikey. Don't you know? We should open up everything so people won't have to be sad anymore. And it's just
okay.
You know.
Me, somebody who's actually attempted to kill myself as well. Fuck you! We need to stay locked down. Fucking stupid.
Yeah. See, and here's another huge factor when it comes to lockdowns. If you don't participate and take it seriously, it doesn't work. I'll say it. Lockdowns don't work unless you participate. Lockdowns.
It's a group effort. It's a group fucking effort.
Lockdowns only work when people actually participate.
If you're not participating and wearing your mask in this lockdown, you're part of the reason people are dying, and you deserve what exactly happened to them, as far as I'm concerned. If you do not participate, I lose all respect for you, because like, it's not about you. It's not about your personal beliefs. It's about what everyone else is going through right now, and people dying over a disease that's completely fucking preventable by just staying inside. Stay the fuck home. If you can't stay the fuck home, go in your basement and jack off until you die, because like, holy fuck, you're a jack off. You're a fucking jack off. It's not hard.
Dude, it's you know, hard. It's crazy how many people I know who are like, I'll say like, it's like we'll break down the I'll break down the conversation. I'll say, you should get your COVID vaccine, and they're like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to get sick, or like, it doesn't like, or I'm gonna have to keep wearing a mask, and we're gonna have to keep social distancing. If I get my vaccine, why should I have to do any of those things? I'm like, because like, even though you could still get COVID, it might not. It might not kill you.
It's like polio. It's like polio. You can still fucking have it. Just because you're vaccinated doesn't mean you're not carrying it. It's like the cold. It's on you, you fuck. It's like MRSA. It lives on your skin.
It's like, okay. So like, right, I said like, because like, it's not 100%. It will like, it's like asymptomatic. You'll have you might not feel the symptoms. You might not die, but you can still get it. And you can still pass it to people who aren't vaccinated, and they can pass. Even if it doesn't kill them, they could pass it on to somebody who it might kill. It's like, you have to, and they're just like, and they say, I don't care about them. Like, I care about me.
Then you don't care about
family.
Your family. It's that simple. You don't care about your family. You don't care about your kids. You don't care about the people you claim you love then, because I don't care about them. Then what happens if one of your family members gets COVID because of your fucking blatant ignorance? You're the reason they're sick. You're the reason they could die. You fucking asshole. And then, you know what? I'm going to push this. I'm going to push this right fucking now. Did any of you watch the Adam Savage and the fucking the Mythbusters episode where they tested the common cold leakage and how fast it can spread?
I've seen that. Yeah.
Holy fuck! It's the same thing, you fucking assholes.
No,
it's Mikey, not a common cold though.
It's even worse than that.
It's so
COVID spreads rapidly. Like, COVID spreads way faster than the common cold.
And it's undetectable for 2 weeks. You don't get symptoms for up to 2 weeks.
As opposed to like a flu where you might show symptoms after a couple days.
Even within hours, you can actually have symptoms of the cold.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. At this point, I blatantly hope the Republican Party is dismantled, because fuck it. I'm just so done with it.